So hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Brissett, and I'm a social work librarian, and I am co-facilitating with Melanie Vicedo, who's the head of Education and Social Work Library Services. And Melanie will be monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions that need to be answered, you can uh, share them in the chat and Melanie will follow up with you. I'll also kind of periodically stop and just check in to see if there are any questions that people have. Melanie also shared the link to the slides in chat as well. And I've included our email address. So if you have any follow-up questions for any of us, you can send an email to that address. Learning objectives for today. We're going to build on the search strategies that were learned in Search Strategies Part 1, so a workshop that my colleague Kelsey Vukic recently did. And then we're going to learn some strategies to help you expand your search using filters and subject headings in library databases. We're going to go over strategies for searching for journal articles by methodology. So if you're looking for a specific type of research design, like a systematic review or a quantitative study, just some tips on how you can find those. And then we're going to look at some just additional, looking for kind of expanding your search results. So looking at some additional features of these databases so you can find related items related to your search. And then at the end, I'll just share some tips for searching Google more effectively. So if you use Google for something, so for example, for finding maybe like government reports or something like that, things that are publicly available, there are some simple tips that you can use to make that process more effective. And just to kind of recap search strategies part 1, kind of before you start that research process. So developing your search strategies and keywords, looking at the results list that you get. So when you do a search, you look at, a lot of times it's helpful to look at the results, get an idea of the types of words that people are using to help you kind of source additional keywords. And this is another strategy that was shared in that workshop was using an asterisk to fill in the blank for alternative endings to a word. So words that have the same root. And an example of that is child. So if you search child with an asterisk, it will search for child, children, childhood, child. So it's kind of all the words that have that same root word. And then another strategy that was shared was phrase searching, so adding quotation marks around an exact phrase. So this is really helpful if there's a really common phrase that is used, or if the name of something, so the name of, for example, like a program or an intervention or a therapy, or the name of a person. Sometimes that's really helpful to put in quotes if you want to see if that person's name shows up in an article, if you're doing a keyword search. And then just to also kind of recap search operators, so and, or, and not, and you would use to combine different concepts. So for example, organizational culture and leadership. And then or you would use to combine similar terms, so leadership or administration. And then not you would use to exclude concepts. So for example, if I'm doing research on organizational culture, but maybe I don't want articles that talk about higher education or mention higher education, I can choose to remove that word or remove that term from my search. For like I said, like I'm going to kind of go over some of the features that some databases have that can help you to expand your search. So USC has over 1,800 databases, which is a lot. I'll obviously only be going over a couple of them. But to access our databases on the USC Library's website, if you go to Find, you see drop-down options, so select databases, and that just takes you to a list of all the databases that we have. You can either, if you already know the database that you need, so let's say I'm looking for PsycINFO, or if I'm looking for ERIC, if I already know the name of the database, I can add or search for the title of that database there, or you can also narrow that list by subject area. So when I go into one of the databases, I'll demonstrate how to find the database. So subject headings are kind of one of the ways that you can, in addition to the search strategy, so the search operators and phrase searching, subject headings are kind of one of the other ways that you can help you find more relevant items. So keywords are typically like the natural language that you use and how you would describe your topic, and that can change depending on the author that's writing the article. It depends on the person who's doing the search. So some people might refer to things in different ways, but subject headings are kind of a vocabulary. So like these predefined terms that are used to organize and describe things in the database. So databases that are index databases that have these subject headings, they essentially have their own vocabulary, which are used to describe everything that's in that database. So every citation, every item in the database is applied, or is kind of connected to a particular term in that system. So with keywords, those are more kind of, like I said, like kind of your everyday language, what you would use and how you kind of refer to things, whereas subject headings could be similar to the keywords that you're using, but they're kind of predefined and fit that system that you're searching, like fit that database. So we're going to go into PsycINFO, which is which is a database that includes subject headings or subject terms. So I'm just going to go to PsycINFO. So like I said, if you're on the USC Library's website and you go to go to databases, and then because I know I'm looking for PsycINFO, I'm just going to the title there and search for it. To find the subject headings in PsycINFO and in a lot of databases, you're looking for the thesaurus, and in PsycINFO, this is under advanced search. So it has the thesaurus here, and this is basically where you can search for different terms. So you might not know, when you open it up, you might not know, the point of this is like you probably don't know what subject headings PsycINFO has. So if you are, doing research, let's say on like child development, you want to see if you could just search that as a keyword, but maybe you want to see if there is a subject heading that already exists related to that term. So you could enter search terms here, and you're basically trying to find a subject heading that's an exact match or closely related to the search term that you're using. So I just entered the search term child development because I wanted to see if there is a subject heading for this term. So there isn't one necessarily that's like child development, but there is, if I kind of scroll down, there's one that's childhood development, right? So that's kind of close, so I can select that. That's the term I'm going to use. And usually when you click on the term itself, it does have this hierarchy of other terms. So not every term has this, but most do. So basically it's kind of showing like more narrower terms and then also more broader terms on top of it. So kind of the more broad term for childhood development is human development. And some of the kind of more narrow terms are like child behavior, child characteristics, child health. You can also get a definition of the term. So if you see these little kind of note icons, when you click on that, it shows you a definition of the term, when it kind of was created and was being used, and then also some additional terms as well. And I think,
Alyssa?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. There was a request to also start the process over again in terms of getting to the thesaurus.
Oh, yeah.
Would that be okay?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll kind of X out of that. So when you're on, so once you kind of get to PsycINFO, for this particular database, the thesaurus is under advanced search. A lot of other database, the thesaurus or the subject headings, you might see kind of in the top, either the right or the left, there might be links that are that show that. But for PsycINFO, it's under, when you go into advanced search, it has like more options here, and then you'll see thesaurus there. And each database has a help section. So if you're not sure if it has subject headings or if you need to find where exactly it is, if you go to the database help section, it should tell you where it is, where you can find it on the database. For this database, it wasn't really that obvious where it was, but for other databases, it can be kind of pretty clear just on the main page, on the home page. Once you click on the thesaurus, it brings up this window, so it just pops up. So also keep that in mind, because sometimes it pops up kind of behind what you're doing, so you don't notice it. And you can just enter your term here. So I want to see if there's a term, a subject heading for child development. There isn't one for child development, but if I kind of scroll down, there's one for childhood development, because that's kind of more of what I meant. Does that help? Did that kind of going over the thesaurus, did that answer the person who needed to see that again?
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Alyssa.
So it does have, like I mentioned, it has these kind of more broader terms here, or broader terms, and then more narrow terms. And then the little icon shows notes on it, so a description and related terms. We do have, so one of the things that you can do, I'm not going to go too much into kind of searching in this system, because we do have a PsycINFO advanced searching workshop coming up, and that will kind of go more in depth into this. But one of the things that a lot of people will do is add the subject heading to their search. So you'll notice like there are these two columns, explode and major. So explode, if you click on that, you can just add that term. You're basically adding that term to the search. And if I checked off, you could do it without doing that, but if I check off explode, I'm saying I want to find all the articles that are assigned to this subject heading, including all the narrower ones as well. So I'm looking also for things that are assigned to child behavior, child characteristics, child health. So that's kind of exploding that search, or that subject heading. So it adds it to your search here, and you can add on to this search if you want, or you could just search, and then it will bring back the articles that fall under that heading. So there's going to be quite a lot, because this is a very broad search. I haven't added anything else to it, but this just kind of gives you an idea of how you can kind of add subject headings to your search. So if you are, let's say if you're doing research maybe on how effective a particular therapy is, or intervention, or kind of what something that maybe have like adverse like childhood experiences, but you want the subject of, so you enter your keywords, but you want the subject of that article to specifically be under childhood development, or that's the focus. That's one of the ways that this subject heading search can help, or you can add to the search that you already have. Going back, the other column, so where we were on, I'll do that again. So for childhood development, one of the other column where it's major, when you do major, you're now asking the database to retrieve articles where that's the main focus of the article. So childhood development is kind of the main topic of the article. So that's kind of what the difference is between explode versus major. Explode is kind of like it says, kind of exploding the term, so the term itself, but also all the narrower terms. And then major is just looking at like what's the main topic or focus of this article. So that's just kind of the subject headings for PsycINFO. And like I said, our PsycINFO workshop coming up will kind of go more in depth into searching. The other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about, like another kind of part of searching that's really useful, is using filters and fields. And this you can use in any of these databases. I will demonstrate this in the USC library system, but also PsycINFO, which we'll kind of look at again a little bit later. It also has filters and an advanced search, like which I just showed you, like that advanced search, which allows you to search different fields. So like an author, if you're looking up a particular author, or if you're looking for a particular title for something, you can use that to kind of be more focused with the search. Some helpful filters that are kind of commonly in databases are published date. So when was the article published? Peer reviewed. So whether or not it's something that's peer reviewed or in a peer reviewed journal. The type of source. So a journal, a newspaper, conference paper, and you can also filter things out by language. So I'm going to use the USC Libraries search and catalog as an example. So I'm going to use this example. So leadership or administration and organizational culture. So organizational culture, I'm doing a phrase search on that because I want that exact phrase and term to be searched. Leadership or administration, so I want either or, so they're kind of similar terms that are used, and I'm going to kind of nest them together because they're similar, and I'm using the same strategy for these two. So when you do, I'm going to also change the drop down of this search to catalog plus articles. So I'm searching our catalog and databases. And when you do a search in the USC library system, and you do that, so you're kind of specifying catalog and articles, it will just kind of take you directly to the results page. And this is where you can use the filters on the left to narrow things down. So like I mentioned before, there's like things, if you know you need a peer-reviewed journal. So right now I have 187,278 results. I want things that are peer-reviewed. I want things that are available online. Those are probably the more commonly used filters that you're going to use, because you want things that are easily accessible. So applying those filters will narrow down my list. So now I have 81,000. And then you can see, like, further down, you can specify the material type that you're using. You can change the date range. So maybe I want things that are more recently published. So 2017 to 2021. I can refine that, and that like further narrows down the list of results that I have. So yeah, always kind of look through the filters and kind of scroll down, because there are quite a lot of different types of filters. You can also see journals, so that maybe you are familiar with a particular journal, or maybe one of these journals, it seems more relevant to what you're kind of looking at. So maybe like leadership and organization development journal, I can apply that filter, and now I'm like very focused. So now it's 91 results. So those are kind of ways to help focus the search, even with just kind of using this one search strategy. You can add on to that with the filters. The other part of that is using the fields. So advanced searching to get a focus search. And it's basically the other side of this. So typically, like a lot of the fields that are available in an advanced search also kind of show up as filters on this end. So after the search. So to get to the advanced search in the libraries, you can select it here. If you're on the USC Libraries main homepage, you can just select it from the drop down there as well. So it's either way, you can kind of access it that way. And most databases have this kind of advanced search function. So what you can do is, and I'll just delete that, this allows you to kind of specify the specific title or a subject, or if you're looking for a particular call number, if you're looking for a book, you can kind of specify that stuff here. I'm just going to look for the term leadership, maybe in the title, or administration. So you can kind of just play around. You can add more lines. Maybe I want organizational culture. If you do any field, it just searches. It doesn't only search the title. It searches like all the other fields that are here, like the full text, the author field, all of that. You can also, if you know a particular author, you could do that and add their name. So if you're looking for a specific article, or you remember an article that's about leadership and administration, you remember the author but not the title of the article, this is also a good way to kind of find that information. I don't really have an author in mind, so I'm just going to add kind of a last name here. You can choose the material type. So this is basically kind of just adding more detail to the search, rather than just searching with your keywords. You can add kind of specifically ahead of time, like what types of things or if you kind of vaguely remember something, an article or a book, and you're looking it up, this could be a good way to find that. So yeah, this is kind of one of the other ways of kind of expanding your search, or just trying different strategies to make it more focused and refined. So this same kind of advanced search feature does not only exist in the library's search, it's also in other databases. So I've included just a screenshot, an example from the database Social Work Abstracts, ProQuest, PsycINFO, ERIC, like those databases also include an advanced search option. One thing that you might be interested in doing is searching for a particular type of research study. So if you're looking for articles that use a quantitative research design or qualitative, or if you're looking for clinical trials, or if you're looking for a systematic review, you can search for by a particular methodology. There are some databases that include a methodology filter, and PsycINFO is one of them. So I'll show PsycINFO. But there's also other ways of searching. So if the database does not include that filter or that field, you can search the methodology as another search term or keyword in the search, and you can use a phrase search to make it to focus the search. So it's looking for that exact word. So the reason that this is helpful, like this, so using a phrase search, is that a lot of times articles will mention in the methods section, or even in the abstracts, just we used a quantitative research design method. So they always kind of mention the method that they're using. So if you're doing a keyword search and it's kind of searching the title or the abstract, it will search for those words. So if they mention it in those sections, it will come up. So it's one way of kind of quickly finding those types of articles. So to find that methodology filter, you go to advanced search in PsycINFO, and then you can kind of add your keywords. So depending on foster youth and maybe depression, and maybe like interventions. I want to look for maybe interventions that are for that particular thing and for that population. So you can enter your keywords, and then if you scroll down, there's this methodology section. So you can kind of check off the type of things that you need. So if you need to find an empirical study, so something that's like original research, maybe you're looking for a study where they use a focus group, you can kind of add on to this. If you're looking for a literature review, systematic review, quantitative study, qualitative study. So you can always kind of do that and then do your search. Once you do a search, even if you didn't add these filters, once you do the search, again, the filters are always there. So you can just, even if you didn't add that methodology, you can always kind of go to the filters, and PsycINFO is one of the databases that has that methodology filter. So you can filter things out that way. The other way, like I mentioned, the other way of doing that, so if if there's a database that just doesn't have that filter, you can use it as a phrase search. You can use the research design as a phrase search. So foster youth, I don't know, I'll do the same thing. So foster youth and depression, and let's do therapy. And maybe I'll try to see, I'll just add systematic reviews to see if there's anything related to systematic review. So I would add that in quotes because I'm looking for that exact phrase to show up, and then do that search. So you can do this in the library system, you can do this in ProQuest, you can do this in Google Scholar, just for an example's sake. So foster youth and systematic review. So this is kind of what I mean, is that when you do search that phrase, it's going to highlight it. A lot of times for this particular thing, sometimes the type of study is in the title itself. So that's kind of easily identified. If you're looking for like a case study, you could also do that. But yeah, it tends to search the title. A lot of times it searches the abstract as well. So if that shows up in the abstract, it will show up in your search results. So that's kind of one way, or two ways, those two kind of ways of finding, searching a specific methodology. So the other thing that you can do on the library site is find things by citation. So if there is a specific article that you're trying to find, you have the citation. There's that find by citation tool that's on the USC libraries. I did not show where that is, so let me do it now. On the library site, find by citation. So that's where you can enter details of a specific article that you're looking for and search the system to find like that specific thing. And then there is this. So one of the things I mentioned at the very beginning was one of the ways you can kind of expand your search results is by looking at the reference list of an article or looking at other articles that have cited it. So you can you're essentially just searching the citations. So it's helpful if you find a really good article that's relevant and maybe you want to see like what other authors cited this particular author, what the references are. It's a good way to kind of track a conversation around a topic or an issue. So kind of identifying a key article maybe in a field. This is not necessarily a key article. It was a pretty random article, but one of the ways you could do this is this cited by option, and some databases have this. So an example which I'll show is Google Scholar, but also ProQuest databases also have this cited by section. So it's basically whatever your original article is, if you want to see what other articles reference this one, when you click on Cited By, it shows you a list of all of those articles. So in Google Scholar, I'm just gonna search the title of the article just because I want to show that one. So here's the article. If you were doing a regular search with your keywords and you found your results, it's the same thing. Like it will have this cited by, if it was cited by other things. You can click on Cited By and you'll see like there are 97 articles that cited this one. So it kind of gives you a sense of maybe more current articles or that came after this one that are kind of talking or about the same thing or related to that original article. So this is kind of one way of finding more articles that are related. The other thing that you can do is maybe find more publications by an author. So in Google Scholar, one of the really nice things that it has is that a lot of authors can create a Google Scholar profile where they can kind of have basically collect a page that lists all of their research, their publications, and you can kind of get a sense of the work that they've done, their expertise just from that information. And if you're in Google Scholar and you happen to use Google Scholar, to know which authors have a profile, you'll see names are underlined. So if you select an author, so I'll just select this one, J. Robinson as an example, you'll see kind of their subject expertise, just more information like what university they're affiliated with, and then kind of additional research articles that they've published or they've been kind of part of. So this is a good way to expand the search, because then it's like getting a sense of what else have they published on? Are they kind of an expert on this issue? Like they've published a lot about it. Here's this co-author section. Are there other people that they've worked with? And maybe you want to kind of go into to their profiles and see kind of what else, or, like other people, what their expertise is, and then kind of all the other publications that they've written. So this is kind of one of the other. This is especially for Google Scholar. This is really helpful. Just looking at getting a sense of who's writing about these issues, what their expertise is, and how often they're cited. So these little cited by. You can see like these numbers are really high. So like all of these articles have cited this particular article. So this is kind of one way that you can expand the search that you did, even just by looking at that one article that you have. The other thing I wanted to show is just how you can use Google to kind of search more effectively. So one of the things that you can do, so a lot of times, I know you've probably heard like maybe Google is not the best thing to use for research, but it depends on what you're looking for. So sometimes Google is helpful for finding public information, so reports from different organizations or think tanks or government agencies, because those things are typically available to the public. So still credible information. It's just kind of depending on what you're looking for, and kind of you're responsible for definitely like evaluating it and making sure it's coming from a credible source. But one way to kind of quickly find some things is to specify the type of website, or to specify the domain that you want searched, or searching within a specific website. So example of a domain is like .gov, .org, .com, .edu. Those are domain. So for example, if I want to find policies related to healthcare in Colorado, I can enter my search terms. So I'm looking for healthcare policies, a state, Colorado, and then cite::.gov. So it will look for websites that are all .gov websites, and it's kind of doing similar to, it is a database, so it's searching for those words on that site or on those sites. And then the other thing is searching within a website. So let's say you could go to the website. So this is kind of just like an extra thing. You don't really have to do this, but you can also just go to the CDC's website and search it. But one thing that you can do in Google, I think I recently found this out, so I think it's really cool. You can actually just search that website. So cite, whatever the website is. This also works for searching maybe like the LA Times online, searching the New York Times. You just add whatever URL it is, so whatever website you're searching, and the keywords that you want searched, and it will search that site for those words. So like what I said, like healthcare policies, you could also do like statistics. You could try different states as well, depending on what you're looking for. So cite.gov. You could also do .edu. So you can add on to it if you want to maybe search .org or .com, or kind of adding on to it. So then the results, most of the results I get should be .edu or .gov. I see that there's some .orgs kind of filtering in. Without the or, maybe it will only show .gov. Yeah, so .gov. If I'm searching a specific site, so like the CDC, so just kind of using the examples from the slide. So all the results will be from the CDC, or kind of top results will be from the CDC, because it's only searching that website. So that's kind of one way. If you happen to just already be on Google, rather than going to the site, you could just search this way. And so I've included a link to our searching solutions guide, which has covers a lot of what I covered today, and also what was covered in Search Strategies Part 1. And then a link to the additional workshops that we have coming up. So there are workshops coming up on PsycINFO, so advanced searching in PsycINFO, and then our email address. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.